Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint-Germain family, to the Paris Saint-Germain versus Aston Villa Champions League preview. In today's video, obviously, we'll be going through every single thing you need to know ahead of the game between the two clubs. Paris Saint-Germain and Aston Villa are obviously set to face at the Parc des Princes this upcoming Wednesday, tomorrow, 9th of April, 2024, 21 p.m. Central European Time, in the quarterfinal first leg of the UEFA Champions League. Here are the time zones for the game if you want to pause the video. Aston Villa are obviously coming in with great form into this game. 5 victories in their last 5 games in all competitions, with their recent game being a 3-0 victory versus Brighton away. They're coming in with great form. Missing player for this game is very lenient for Aston Villa. Ross Barkley will 100% miss the game. Bailly potentially may not feature in this game because he recently came back from injury. And it's also needed to mention a few players are at risk of missing the return leg at Villa Park next week if they receive a yellow card during PSG versus Aston Villa. Lucas Digne, Axel Disasi, Bouba Kamara, and Marcus Rashford are 1 yellow card away. So if Marcus Rashford, Bouba Kamara, Disasi, or Digne, Kamara, Rashford, 3 starters, if any one of them gets a yellow card, they'll be missing their away leg at Villa Park. Aston Villa, obviously, this is their predicted lineup. Emiliano Martinez in goal. We know a lot about him. Very experienced. Always turns up in the big moments for Aston Villa. I think even in a Europa League game away to Stade de Rennes, they won a penalty shootout with him being huge. So even for Aston Villa, he can have those huge moments. And this is probably the biggest game in Martinez's club career. Even bigger, obviously, than the FA Cup with Arsenal and so on, Bob. This is a huge game for Martinez, and he will try his absolute best to be in top shape for this game. For the defense, it's Matty Cash, Konsa, Mings, Digne. Honestly, don't know enough about these players to talk about. I know Digne because I've seen him with the French national team, a cross merchant. Decent defense. He's pretty much decent at everything, and they're really good at crosses. But can definitely be cooked a few times, just like we did to Robertson in the previous game. Mings and Konsa, obviously, 2 defensive, strong-minded centre-backs, but a bit similar to the Liverpool defense. Van Dijk and Konate are really great against a striker, against a focal point, against a target man in the opposition team. And I think the same goes for Konsa and Mings, 2 big physical centre-backs making it very tough for a striker. But that's the thing with Paris Saint-Germain. We do not play with a striker. We play with 3 false 9 that occupies the space right in front of defenders, which will force the gaps to be opened up. We saw that in the Liverpool goal away at Anfield from Ousmane Dembélé. Ousmane Dembélé drops into that spot, and the centre-back just cannot follow him. They're not as quick as him, and they don't want to lose that defensive structure that created the entire goal for Paris Saint-Germain. So I think similar, not problem, but their centre-backs are not going to be as good as they think they are because they're barely going to have any 1v1 chances against our attackers. And obviously, they will be good in the air. Aston Villa can be a very dangerous team from corners, so we have to be very wary of that. I think Mings is like at least 195 or something. Matty Cash, just an average right back. Moving on to the midfield for Aston Villa, you have Tielemans, Kamara, and McGinn. Tielemans, obviously touted as one of the most promising midfielders of this generation. Didn't go that well at Monaco, but is resurging himself at Aston Villa. Still not pulling up these kinds of performances for Belgium at least, but he's been very good and consistent ever since joining Aston Villa. He'll be that more of a box-to-box, little bit of everything. Kamara will obviously be the anchor in the midfield, and we obviously have seen him play against us versus Marseille. Between decent and good player. And then McGinn, he can take a moment. I've seen him score, huge goals for Aston Villa, a lot of individual ability goals as well. So I think he can be a little bit dangerous in that sense. But once again, it's a good midfield, but nothing compared to Paris Saint-Germain. And moving on to the attack, Marcus Rashford, Marco Asensio, and Rodgers. This is when we are talking. Marcus Rashford obviously knows how to score against Paris Saint-Germain. Obviously, this is a different Rashford. That was probably the 2 best versions of Rashford that we came up against. But Rashford, where he is in his career, he knows if he gets a moment right here, this will be huge for his career. As the first goal, the penalty, just the penalty that he scored was huge for his career. Obviously, went a lot of downhill after that, but it was a huge PR thingy. And I think that's exactly what Rashford is looking for in this game. Marco Asensio, obviously, PSG felt he wasn't good enough, and he wasn't good enough for Paris Saint-Germain. Sent him on loan to Aston Villa, and I think he's contributed to 8 goals in 11 games or something. He's been very, very great for them so far. This is a big game. He will try to prove himself against Luis Enrique and Paris Saint-Germain and say, well, you shouldn't have loaned me up. I'm still good. Rodgers, obviously, I think he is the most interesting player from this Aston Villa 11. He's the one I think we should be looking at a bit more here and there. Can have, a great moment. Will be very dangerous off the counter-attack. Obviously, Paris Saint-Germain will be pushing very high up, having a very high line, and Rodgers would love to get opportunities like that. We saw Salah, how we went for him. Now it will be Nuno Mendes' turn to go on Rodgers. And what we see from Rodgers, he's much bigger than Salah and more physical. And Nuno Mendes, majority of the stuff he did, he's a great defender, but it's a lot of athleticism. So this will be an even tougher matchup, in my opinion. Salah, better player than Rodgers. Rodgers, better 1v1 player than Mohamed Salah. And has shown that in the UCL as well this season. And this is obviously their lineup. This is the most predicted one. I could see potentially, I've read some stuff about Watkins could potentially be in the lineup. Maybe then Asensio switches to the wing and Watkins is up top or something. But this would pretty much be the Aston Villa 11. It's a good, defensive enough formation. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have that many more thoughts about this Aston Villa team. I think it's a good team, but it's definitely a beatable team. There are strengths, there are more weaknesses, and they will try their best to just uphold Paris Saint-Germain. But Paris Saint-Germain will not be as unfortunate this time. And my one to watch from this Aston Villa team, once again, has to be Rodgers. I think he is the guy that I can see scoring a goal. He's the guy that can have a magical moment and create an assist for another goal scorer. I think Rodgers will be the Aston Villa player I'm looking the most at. I think Luis Enrique, the Villa player he's mostly thinking about, is Rodgers with his athleticism. Rashford and Asensio, not the most athletic, but Rodgers, quick, rapid, great in 1v1s, has a great shot on him as well, and great just confidence in the Champions League this season. Moving on to Paris Saint-Germain, we obviously have 5 out of 5 victories coming into this game, with the most recent one being a 1-0 victory over Le Havre. But before we go into the lineup, I wanted to check out some comments ahead of the game. This was said ahead of the game. I would say pride is a very strong feeling. We're very happy. We've been working since the beginning of the season to deserve this. It's a great reward. I think it will be very important. We know that the support for our fans will be very important. And at the same time, we must prepare for the match to be solid and control our emotions on the pitch. From Luis Enrique, very good words. I'm still a very young player. I'm trying to improve every day. The players give me a lot. The managers are there to help me. When I'm not doing well, I'm in good shape, and that has to continue. Obviously, Desiree Doué was the player chosen by Luis Enrique. He's chosen, different players all the time, and we see Desiree Doué this time in the press conference with Luis Enrique. It was a dream for me to play for the national team. When I found out, I was very happy. Great to know there from Desiree Doué. We talked about the absence of our captain, Marquinhos. We had very high-level players in every position. Marquinhos won't be on the pitch, but he'll be there to advise us, which is not insignificant. Martinez, a goalkeeper like any other. I haven't faced him yet. The goal will be to score as many goals as possible against him, and I absolutely love that when I saw this quote. Score as many goals as possible. Not just one, not just win the game, score as many goals as possible. I feel the pressure, don't get me wrong. The penalty is a technical move that I work on in training. When I go in front of the goalkeeper, it's about placing the ball on the wrong foot. Again, the quarterfinal, there's no such thing as luck. They're there, it's because they deserve it. We're approaching this match with great seriousness. We're going to go there. We have to be serious from the start to finish. I try to keep my personality. I'm still a young player. I need to improve in many ways. The players installed gave me a lot of advice because I was perhaps overdoing it a bit. That is very true when it came to the beginning of the Serie A at Paris Saint-Germain. We know there are different areas on the pitch we contribute in our area. There are areas where we have to pass the ball quickly and build on others, where we have much more freedom. And that, is a great thing to say about Paris Saint-Germain. When we are in more risky zones, we try to pass it out of the pressure instead. But when it comes to the final third, elite freedom for our attackers to do exactly what they feel they want to do. I would say the collective first, efficiency second, of course, having fun on the pitch. But the most important thing is to perform. Portuguese players help us a lot on the emotional side. They're all super nice, super pleasant. On the pitch, they bring us a lot. They're just excellent. Due's message to Chuck and Achilleos, this choice will come from them, from the club. I made the choice come to PSG. I'm very happy about it. It's a club that many players dream of. It's a great project. Now we have Luis Enrique ahead of the game. Very teasing before starting. Luis Enrique, there's a concert today. There are people. Ultimately, every coach has his own style and way of meeting his squad. And Emery is an expert on player performance. How do we do it? I think it has a lot to do with the coach's philosophy. I'm sure that coach tried to make the most accurate decision as possible. I'm delighted that we don't have any injured players. I think it's the same against Liverpool. Everyone said we had no chance. There have been teams that can move up to the next level. We have to do that what it takes to qualify. We built our friendship through our clashes. It's just joy to know that you're going to meet one of the coaches with the greatest European career. He's a coach who takes care of his work. Aston Villa has improved under Unai Emery. I would say his team is similar to ours in that they have a lot of versatile players. It's hard to know who will play, especially since they're strengthening themselves in a big way this winter. They have different playing styles, very open and difficult doubleheader for both teams. It seems like nothing really has been mentioned in these reports ahead of the game. One thing I wanted to look at is, Luis Enrique just mentioned them. And we know how Luis Enrique does with the Spanish coaches. He always, over-impresses them all the time. But I saw this. Best win percentage, knockout ties. And as you can see, Unai Emery is second in this list. 82.1% win rate, has been in 39 knockout ties. I did not know he's been managing football for that long. Like, it's the exact same as Carlo Ancelotti. Very close to Pep Guardiola. But champions in Europa League, I think the only manager in this entire top 10 because of the Europa League is Unai Emery. And that's why I wanted to check Unai Emery's Champions League stats. Because, once again, I just hate illogical stuff. Calling Unai Emery a European genius, let's see what he's done. Because I do not think his Champions League run is that impressive. For Paris Saint-Germain, obviously in the knockout stages, 4 games against Madrid twice and Barca twice. Lost to Madrid twice. Lost to Barca once and won once Europe. Let's see Unai Emery in the UEFA Champions League. So in the Champions League, he's managed 63 games, won 29, lost 22, drawn 12. Let's look a bit more detailed into those seasons. Okay, so here's all of his Champions League. So with Valencia, he only reached a round of 16. Group stage in 11-12, group stage in 12-13, group stage in 15-16, 2 obviously round 16s with PSG. You could call it a Fugazi semi-final with Villarreal. Aston Villa, they were good in the group, but still favorable draw. I even remember David early on when the draws were made. He was like, yeah, Aston Villa gonna go through probably top 8 because just strictly how easy their games was. Obviously, and then they faced Bruges. Fortunate as well to go through. But yeah, I don't see the European thing. If we want to see the European thing, it's in the Europa League. Yeah, Unai Emery is probably one of the best Europa League managers, not European managers. Won it 4 times, been in the final. I have no clue where intermediate stages. Semi-final and quarter-final. This is his European heritage legacy. This is not some European genius, man. So please, I don't want to hear this again about Unai Emery. Going back to the preview, obviously, for the game. Paris Saint-Germain, as I mentioned, beat Le Havre 1-0. And this is the information for the upcoming game. Marquinhos, obviously, is suspended for the game. Tanguy is injured. So these 2 players will not be participating this game. And Fabio Ruiz, he will be playing. But if he gets a yellow card, he will not be able to play next game. And we don't even have to be worried about any other players and even for next games. Because as you can see, all yellow cards expire on completion of the quarterfinals. So after the quarterfinals, after the 2 legs versus Aston Villa, if we go through to the semi-final, we don't have to worry about these yellow cards and so on anymore. So Fabian is the only one in danger of the second leg. Paris Saint-Germain's predicted lineup, Gianluigi Donnarumma in goal, alongside Nuno Mendes, William Pacho, Beraldo, and Achraf Hakimi. It's looking like Beraldo will be getting the spot ahead of Marquinhos. I think that has been clear for a very long time. It wouldn't surprise me if Lucas Hernandez starts because he's been performing, decently well since coming back from his ACL, improving game by game. Obviously, it was Beraldo who came out for Marquinhos versus Liverpool when he got a small injury. So, and it's been reports that he's second in behind, Pacho and Marquinhos. So I think Beraldo is going to start alongside the other defenders. João Neves, Vitinha, and Fabian Ruiz in the midfield, and Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, Ousmane Dembele, and Bradley Barcola up in attack. Obviously, the wild card coming into this game is Desiré Doué. Against Liverpool in both ties, he did not start the 2 games, and neither did he do in the last 3rd game versus Brest, with Khvicha Kvaratskhelia taking his spot pretty much in the attack in all of these games. But Desiré Doué, since that Liverpool game, has come into his best form he's ever been at Paris Saint-Germain, and probably in his entire career, scoring goals for fun, killing opponents for fun. And he will be, as mentioned, a wild card for Luis Enrique. Will he start him? Will he not? Could we see a surprise start in the midfield? Could we see someone be dropped from the attack? Obviously, in the midfield, I think if anyone would be sacrificed, it would be Fabian Ruiz, and then a Vitinha Neves double pivot with Desiré Doué above them. Or he potentially could start either of one of the 2 attackers. I think Dembele is 100% going to start. We've seen Doué starting some games over Kvara, but in the Champions League, Kvara has been so amazing for Paris Saint-Germain. I don't see that. Barcola, he's not been performing really well, but he's very influential for this team, basically as a system player, as a late runner, which Desiré Doué is nowhere close to Barcola as a runner in behind. So unfortunately, my prediction is Desiré Doué does not start, but definitely will have an effect coming off the bench. But it wouldn't surprise me if he starts. Paris Saint-Germain's lineup will obviously move into more like this, because we will have majority of the ball versus Aston Villa. Beraldo and Pacho creating a back 2 with Nuno Mendes there, but more holding the left side, and then a basic 3-man midfield in the middle. Hakimi hugging the touchline so that Kvara can go inside or stay outside, and then Hakimi can invert inside. Barcola obviously holding the left and loves to make those runs inside, and Ousmane Dembele just playing the Ousmane Dembele role, which is basically you're him, do whatever you want to do, and win us the game probably. And that's why Ousmane Dembele, once again, is my ones to watch. I mean, in 2025, Paris Saint-Germain, I think, has either been the top scoring team in Europe or the 2nd top scoring team after FC Barcelona. And Ousmane Dembele has been so impactful for us, especially when it comes to the big games, especially when it comes to us needing a goal. When we need a goal, when we're under or it's 0-0, that first goal is very tough to score. Ousmane Dembele has always been there. We've always been able to trust him. But the expectations obviously are now on Ousmane Dembele. He's done this now for a period consistently where we believe in it and we hope for it. So Ousmane Dembele has to score for Paris Saint-Germain. He has to score for Paris Saint-Germain. I don't have that confidence enough yet in the other players to score for Paris Saint-Germain. I think Kvara's first big Champions League goal is coming after that disallowed versus Liverpool. I think Desiré Doué, his goal is definitely coming, and Barcola could always get a goal. But the certainty is Ousmane Dembele. So he has to get a goal this game and have a great performance for Paris Saint-Germain. And my prediction is a 3-1 victory to Paris Saint-Germain. I think Aston Villa, after the game we will sit here and say, you know what, Aston Villa are better than I thought. I didn't think they were this good. But despite them being good, it just will not be enough. This time, Paris Saint-Germain will not just have a great performance, but they will be clinical as well. What happened versus Liverpool is an anomaly, and this game will show that. I'm predicting we could get maybe the first goal of the game, maybe 35th minute, go into the second half, get a second, get a third, and then they get one to make the second leg a bit more interesting. That's how I see the game going. Let me know in the comments down below, how are you feeling about the upcoming game, and what's your prediction for Paris Saint-Germain versus Aston Villa? That's been it from my boy PSG, and as usual, allez Paris.